Spanish officials have said at least 88 people died during a massive migrant influx into its autonomous city of Ceuta. Moroccan officials presented their own initial estimate of 11 dead and were working with Spanish authorities to identify the bodies of those recovered on the other side of the border. An estimated 60,000 people rushed the border area, with most voluntarily returning to Morocco within 48 hours as Spanish troops and civil guard units restored order. The unprecedented rush sparked an international crisis, prompting Italy to suspend its Schengen border-free agreement with Spain for 1 month. Facing a coordinated regional response after 22 bloc members demanded urgent action, Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez blasted the reaction of European partners as selfish. The European Union will convene an emergency video meeting on Tuesday to draft a unified strategy and prevent further uncontrolled crossings.
U.S. President Donald Trump said that new negotiations with Iran will begin on Monday after he decided to hold off on recent strikes over the weekend to allow diplomatic efforts to run their course. The Islamic Republic, however, denied talks were set to take place, insisting instead that it was speaking to Oman about how to manage the strategic Strait of Hormuz. Trump told reporters on Sunday that the fresh talks would cover the waterway, a key energy shipping route that has become central to the conflict, and Iran's denuclearization.
Now what we're doing is we're talking to them in the form of a negotiation. It begins tomorrow afternoon, and we'll see if it's true. I'd love to do that, save a lot of lives, save a lot of unnecessary power, to be honest with you. It would take many, many years to ever build it back. If it could, I don't think it would be even buildable back. So we had an attack that would be the biggest attack since World War II, and it would have been disastrous for them. And they didn't want us to do it. And frankly, Saudi Arabia didn't want it either. They thought that a deal is imminent.
The renewed hostilities between Washington and Tehran violates a memorandum of understanding signed in June, instating a 60-day ceasefire window for negotiations over a permanent end to the fighting. The U.S. said it restarted attacks after Tehran targeted numerous commercial vessels in the key waterway, despite the agreement being in effect. The renewed strikes again caused global oil prices to spiral, where Brent crude currently sits at close to $80 a barrel, an almost 11% increase from 6-month low of $72 in late June. Trump did, however, warn that the U.S. is, quote, locked and loaded, vowing to resume strikes on the country if talks do not prove fruitful quickly.
2 helicopters collided while battling Greece's wildfire near Athens on Sunday, according to the fire service. Firefighters in Greece continue to battle flames on multiple fronts as gale-force winds drove wildfires to spread further, devastating swathes of forest and agricultural land. In the western Attica region that includes Athens, wildfires continue to rage in several villages, including the towns of Porto Germano and Megara. A new fire broke out late on Saturday on the island of Cephalonia, while another blaze continued to spread in the northern Peloponnese. Meanwhile, the Gironde mega-fire in France remained contained but was still burning after scorching 42,000 hectares of forest in just 10 days. The fire in the southeastern Var region is still under close surveillance as firefighters managed to stem its advance. Spain also continues to grapple with new flare-ups, but the national state of emergency declared on Thursday has been lifted. Europe is the world's fastest warming continent, heating up at more than twice the global average since the 1980s due to human-caused climate change, which has doubled the likelihood of the extreme fire conditions.
At least 3 people have been killed and 21 injured in an explosion at a restaurant in Moscow, according to Russia's National Anti-Terrorism Committee, state media reported. In a statement, the committee noted that the explosion was caused by a homemade explosive device that was being carried into the restaurant by a woman who also died. The other victims include a security agent who tried to stop her and a restaurant customer, the committee added. The restaurant had been holding a private function. Since the start of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022, Ukraine's secret service has claimed or been accused of carrying out several attacks on Russian military officers and public figures backing the conflict. However, the attack is still under investigation, according to the investigative committee, and Russian authorities have not said who they believe was the target. A 17-year-old has been detained in Gipuzkoa as the suspected head of the extremist group 764 in Spain's Basque region. The teenager was arrested in a joint operation by the Spanish Civil Guard, the autonomous police forces of the Basque country and the Catalonia region. Between January and April 2026, he allegedly sent numerous threats against schools, city halls and other institutions, announcing shootings that never actually took place, but which forced authorities to implement extraordinary security measures. Network 764 originated in the US and now operates internationally, recruiting vulnerable minors online through manipulation, blackmail and isolation. The investigation has also uncovered the use of techniques such as swatting and doxing to falsely target individuals unrelated to the incidents. The suspect is currently being held at a specialized facility pending court proceedings.
At 80 years old, Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has officially launched his bid for a fourth term in office at the Workers' Party National Convention in Sao Paulo. Lula faces a fierce challenge from 45-year-old Senator Flávio Bolsonaro, who stepped in after his father, former President Jair Bolsonaro, was convicted over a 2023 coup attempt and placed under house arrest. Beyond domestic policy, the high-stakes campaign has turned into a geopolitical battleground. Lula has centered his platform on defending national sovereignty against US trade tariffs and Donald Trump's Donro Doctrine, while Flávio Bolsonaro enjoys external backing from leaders like Argentine President Javier Milei and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. At the same time, ethical controversies continue to cloud both major camps. Fresh inquiries were opened into Lula's son over corruption allegations, while former First Lady Michelle Bolsonaro launched a Senate bid amidst an internal power struggle with her stepson. Despite solid economic growth, voters remain deeply concerned over security and the cost of living. With the latest Datafolha poll putting Lula at 48% against Flávio Bolsonaro's 43%, Brazil faces another extremely tight and deeply polarized election.
At least 5 people have died and 41 are still missing after an Indonesian ferry caught fire at sea on Sunday. 225 people out of the 271 passengers on board were rescued, while some passengers jumped overboard to escape the fire and were rescued by a nearby ship. The captain of the ship reported the fire of Madura Island as the vessel sailed from the country's second largest city, Surabaya in East Java, to Makassar in South Sulawesi, according to search and rescue officials. Indonesia frequently experiences marine accidents. Last month, at least 4 people died after a ferry sank near the small island of Silaya.
A plane carrying European tourists to view Peru's famed Nazca lines crashed into a field on Saturday, killing all 13 people on board. Among the victims were 7 Italians, 2 Germans, and 2 Spaniards, as well as 2 crew members. The Nazca lines are a group of extensive geoglyphs scraped into the desert around Nazca thousands of years ago by Peru's indigenous inhabitants. As they are best seen from the air, scenic flights lasting 30 minutes to an hour are a popular tourist attraction. Peru's Civil Aviation Authority and the Air Accident Agency will investigate the accident, according to the Transport Ministry.
Bao, wonton, mantu, manti, manta, chujvara, pelmeni, dushbara, guruza, hikali. So many names, so many dumplings. The story of the metamorphosis of these delicious pastry parcels begins its journey in China to Central Asia, the South Caucasus and onto Europe.
I think it probably main of these dumplings coming from the Asia, is Chinese.
In Azerbaijan, there are very specific ways to make their gurza.
Part of our traditional cuisine, the heritage cuisine in Azerbaijan.
The tasty treat sees subtle changes as you travel through borders, regions, countries and climates.
In our culture, people eat in winter time because this is the power of for energy, for the health, because for cold weather.
Dushbara are famously tiny, delicate parcels of dough filled with minced lamb and served in fragrant broth or soup. So small that tradition says dozens should fit onto a single spoon.
They use in the one spoon 13 on the 15 pieces of the small dushbaras.
Further along the ancient routes, the dumpling continued to transform, and in Uzbekistan, the delicate chuchvara and manti emerged. In Kazakhstan, the robust manti settled, and in the South Caucasus, the finely crafted Azerbaijani dushbara and gurza were created.
You can use some lamb broth or just hot water with some salt, and we serve it this dumpling, Azerbaijani dumpling of gurza, with sumac or yogurt sauce or mint and garlic yogurt sauce.
Today, chefs and families across the world continue to honour these traditions while adding their own interpretations, keeping these beloved dumplings at the heart of the country's culinary identity.